my dear brothers and sisters, Sai Ram, and welcome to the evening session of day 5 of the Gita, Sara, Sarita. Sadguru often remarks that the 3 shortcuts to success are practice, practice, and practice. This profound word, practice, is tremendously pertinent to each one of us. Be it a chef who's trying to perfect a recipe, a musician who strives to deliver the perfect note, or a batsman who practices a particular shot many times before he can flawlessly execute it on the field, everyone has to practice to become perfect in any field of human endeavor. And this was exactly what Bhagavan Sri Krishna elucidated to Arjuna over 5,000 years ago on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. In order to achieve perfection in all that we practice, Sri Krishna guides us in the 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, which is Dhyana Yoga, by emphasizing on the importance of focus and concentration. When Arjuna laments about how all this is beyond his capability, Sri Krishna compassionately acknowledges Arjuna's query and replies, Asamshayam Mahabaho, no doubt the mind is restless, O Arjuna, but Abhyasena tu Kaunteya, Vairagena cha grihyate. The mind can be controlled with practice and detachment. Coming back to the present, 5,000 years after Sri Krishna guided Arjuna, the same divinity is guiding us now, and not only as a Sadguru, but as a Samartha Sadguru, the one who doesn't stop at just teaching, but holds our hands, sometimes even our ears, making sure that we practice and implement all that we have learned to take us to the highest. Now, we shall revise the shlokas that we have learned this morning from chapter 6 of Bhagavad Gita.
Om Shri Paramatmane Namaha Atha Shashtodhyayaha Dhyana Yogaha Shri Bhagavanu Vacha Anashritah Karma Phalam Karyam Karma Karoti Yaha Sasanyasi Cha Yogi Cha Na Niragnir Na Chakriyaha Uddharedatmanatmanam Natmanamavasadayet Atmaiva hyatmano bandhuhu Atmaiva ripuratmanaha Bandhuratmatmanastasya Yenatmaivatmana jitaha Anatmanastu shatrutve Vartetatmaiva shatruvat Jnana vijnana truptatma Kutastho vijitendriyaha Yukta ityuchyate yogi Samaloštashma kanchanaha Suhrin mitraryudasina Madhyasthadveshya bandhushu Sadhushvapi cha papeshu Samabuddhir vishishyate Shuchau deshe pratisthapya Sthiramasanamaatmanaha Natyuchhritannati nicham Chailajina kushottaram Tatraikagram manah kritva Yatachittendriyakriyaha Upavishyasane yunjyat Yogamatma vishuddhaye Samankaya shirogrivam Dharayannachalam sthiraha Samprekshya nasikagram svam दिशश्चानवलोकयन् युक्ताहारविहारस्य युक्तचेष्टस्य कर्मसु युक्तस्वप्नावबोधस्य योगो भवति दुःखः यं लब्ध्वा चापरं लाभं मन्यते नाधिकं ततः यस्मिन् स्थितो न दुःखेन गुरुणापि विचाल्यते यतो यतो निश्चरति मनश्चञ्चलमस्थिरं ततस्ततो नियम्यैतत् आत्मन्येव वशन्नयेत् सर्वभूतस्थमात्मानं सर्वभूतानि चात्मनि ईक्षते योगयुक्तात्मा सर्वत्र समदर्शनः स योगी मयि वर्तते आत्मौपम्येन सर्वत्र समं पश्यति योऽर्जुन सुखं वा यदि वा दुःखं स योगी परमो मतः अर्जुन उवाच चञ्चलं हि कौन्तेय वैराग्येण च गृह्यते अर्जुन उवाच अयति श्रद्धयोपेतो योगाच्चलितमानसः अप्राप्य योगसंसिद्धिं कां गतिं कृष्ण गच्छति कच्चिन्नो भयविभ्रष्टः छिन्नाभ्रमिव नश्यति अप्रतिष्ठो महाबाहो विमूढो ब्रह्मणः पथि एतन्मे संशयं कृष्ण छेत्तुमर्हस्य शेषतः त्वदन्यः संशयस्यास्य छेत्तान्न ह्युपपद्यते श्रीभगवानुवाच पार्थ नैवेह नामुत्र विनाशस्तस्य विद्यते न हि कल्याणकृत् कश्चित् दुर्गतिं तात गच्छति प्राप्य पुण्यकृतां लोकान् उषित्वा शाश्वती समाः शुचीनां श्रीमतां गेहे योगभ्रष्टोऽभिजायते अथवा योगिनामेव कुले भवति धीमताम् एतद्धि दुर्लभतरं लोके जन्म यदीदृशम् तत्र तं बुद्धिसंयोगं लभते पौर्वदेहिकं यतते च ततो भूयः संसिद्धौ कुरु नन्दन पूर्वाभ्यासेन तेनैव ह्रियते ह्यवशोऽपि सः जिज्ञासुरपि योगस्य शब्दब्रह्माति वर्तते प्रयत्नाद्यतमानस्तु योगी संशुद्धकिल्बिषः अनेकजन्मसंसिद्धः ततो याति पराङ्गतिम् तपस्विभ्योऽधिको योगी ज्ञानिभ्योऽपि मतोऽधिकः कर्मिभ्यश्चाधिको योगी तस्माद्योगी भवार्जुन। योगिनामपि सर्वेषां मद्गतेनान्तरात्मना श्रद्धावान् भजते यो मां समे युक्ततमो मतः। ॐ तत्सत् इति श्रीमद्भगवद्गीतासु उपनिषत्सु ब्रह्मविद्यायां योगशास्त्रे श्रीकृष्णार्जुनसंवादे ध्यानयोगो नाम षष्ठोऽध्यायः। श्रीकृष्णार्पणमस्तु।
May we now request our revered Chancellor, Sri B.N. Narasimhamurthy Sir, to address all of us.
Most beloved Swami, brothers and sisters, and very dear students, boys and girls. The fact that the average age of people sitting here now and listening to the teachings of Bhagavad Gita will be just around 20 years is a tribute to the educational system of synthesis of Paravidya and Aparavidya being spearheaded by Sadguru Sri Madhusudan Sai. Why I say this? In the outside world, when you talk about Bhagavad Gita, the parents normally advise, or people normally advise, it should be, study of Bhagavad Gita should be after retirement, after 60 years. Generally, that it's so in India also, forget about in the overseas countries where they don't have that culture. Even in India, with the rich culture, generally parents think, people think, even teachers, most of the teachers think that something like Bhagavad Gita should be taught and learned only by people above 60 years of age. But here we have children, mostly children, and except from Muddenahalli campus and Prashanti Balmandira, we have students from 9th onwards, means there will be 15 years onwards, right up to the university, post-graduation, and even research. Why is this attitude so in the outside society in India? Because generally people think Bhagavad Gita teaches otherworldliness. Therefore, the children will lose interest in worldly achievements. They also think spirituality or listening to Bhagavad Gita will drain all enthusiasm from young people to achieve great things in life. Somehow, such a wrong notion has come about in society is a misfortune of this country. Yesterday, Sadguru said, in fact, he quoted Plato, kings should become philosophers and philosophers should become kings. He also said another very important statement which all of us should note, especially the students. A perfect karma yogi is a perfect jnana yogi. A perfect jnana yogi is a perfect karma yogi. What does it mean? It means that Bhagavad Gita is not only a textbook of spirituality and psychology, it's a textbook of life of achievement. Because what is the last sloka of the Bhagavad Gita? It talks about how anyone can achieve success in life and achieve things in life. Yatra Yogeshwara Krishna, Yatra Partho Dhanurdhanaha, Tatra Shrihi Vijayaha Bhutihi Dhruvanitir Matir Mama. Means it shows the way to Shri, prosperity, lot of prosperity, wealth. Vijayaha, victory. And Dhruvaniti, steady morality. Therefore, it should be now told to the world by our students that Bhagavad Gita is not a textbook of otherworldliness. It is a textbook which teaches us how to succeed in this world. How to succeed in this world. Yesterday, Sadguru quoted Plato. The same thing has been expressed by the 12th Pitadipati of Sringeri Samsthanam, Sri Vidyaranya Muni. Sri Vidyaranya also is highly revered by Sadguru. Many times you have heard from him personally, also in groups and even in discourses. He was the 12th Guru of Sringeri Mutt. But what did he do? He was a man of great spiritual attainment, there is absolutely no doubt. But what did he do? What he did saved India from bankruptcy of the wealth of spirituality. In South India, he was instrumental in establishing the Vijayanagar Empire, which safeguarded the onslaughts on our culture, on our Vedic scriptures, on our people, on our piety for 250 years. Anybody who studies history of India will know, but for Vijayanagar Empire, if Alauddin Khilji's commander, Mallikafar, had succeeded, the culture would have been wiped out of our country. But it is this Vijayanagar Empire. And he made a statement, Jnanina charitum shakyam samyag rajyadi laukikam. Means it is only a jnani who has attained the highest spiritual excellence who can run a country most effectively, most competently, and most rightly. That's what Plato also meant. Kings should become philosophers, philosophers should become kings. Therefore, our students will have to understand, if we digest the teaching of Bhagavad Gita, we will be great achievers in any sphere which we choose. Because look at achievers from all over the world, in any walk of life. Most of them were people with great faith in God and in the path of spirituality. Name anybody. Who are the great achievers who come to your mind? From the West, so Benjamin Franklin, Abraham Lincoln, George Washington, even great scientists like Albert Einstein. And especially in India, we have a galaxy of such achievers in every field of life. Take politics, take music, take sports, take literature. Anybody greater than Rabindranath Tagore, who got Nobel Prize for a textbook of devotion by the name Gitanjali, which are nothing but outpourings of his heart's devotion to God. Therefore, our students will have to understand, if we study Bhagavad Gita, we can achieve anything in the world. See, that is the confidence we have to develop and tell the people and wipe out this wrong notion from the minds of elders. Because that is what has been taught to them, that is what has been told to them. Though Swami Vivekananda said that Bhagavad Gita is the Bible, is the textbook for life. He himself said that. And there is logic behind this. Why is it? Why will a man of spirituality, a man with great faith in God, will become an achiever? You study the lives of great achievers, you will easily understand. You will easily understand that. As Sadguru has pointed out, the essence of the second chapter is equanimity. Equanimity is most required for an achiever in life. Because nobody's life is a bed of roses. Nobody meets only success in life. Failures are natural. Therefore, in the face of success or failure, to keep up equanimity of mind is very important for any achiever, any leader. See, that is one of the great qualities. And third chapter, Sadguru said the essence is selflessness. A selfless leader will be the greatest achiever. The selfless leader will command the respect of all followers very spontaneously. And most importantly, any spiritual person who attains some degree of control over mind and senses, he will have clarity of thinking. His mind will never be clouded by considerations of selfish desires. He will always think of the good of the world. Therefore, he will have clarity of thinking. More importantly, intuitive intelligence is the right of every spiritual person. You are not just guided by your head. Being guided from the intelligence of the heart, intelligence of the conscience, or Gandhi called it inner voice. See, in a very critical situation in the history of our country during the freedom struggle in 1921, Mahatma Gandhi, who had launched the movement of civil disobedience, he withdrew it suddenly. All political leaders, his own followers, criticized him. He withdrew. Why? He said, I heard my inner voice. And he was proved absolutely correct. Therefore, spirituality bestows upon the persons that intuitive insight, which is very important for achieving things in life. For example, when we were looking for a land to establish a campus near Bangalore, Anna Madhusudan Bhatt, we had lot of choices. See, a campus near Davangere was ready for occupation. It was offered to Anna. Near Mandya, another campus was ready. It was offered to Anna. And coming to here only, we had about 4 or 5 places. Anna took the decision of choosing Muddenahalli. Why? He didn't even go to Puttaparthi and ask Swami, which place should we choose? He sat for meditation and he got a clear prompting, this is the place, and he chose. Can there be a better place which exemplifies achievement in this world? Forget about the spiritual world. Achievement. What has happened in the last 10 years is mind-boggling success. In the words of the President of India, incredible work. All this happened because Sadguru is the leader who has the highest spiritual insight, highest spiritual experience, and we, the followers, believe in God, believe in spirituality. Therefore, our boys should always be very confident, never hesitate to say, it is spirituality which helps me to achieve things in my life. When you work to please God, not for anything else, you are most powerful. When you connect yourselves to the springs of the Spirit in your heart, Spirit or God is the storehouse of all power and all achievement. You connect to it. Therefore, this is very important on this occasion. Bhagavad Gita should be taught in every school and college in India. Should be taught. Otherwise, we are actually taking away a great wealth from our children. If you want children to achieve in a righteous way, children to reach the zenith of their potential, Bhagavad Gita is one text which should be taught to everyone, especially children. With these words, I conclude and pray to Sadguru for his enlightenment on the essence of the 6th chapter and then the question and answers. Thank you very much. Sara.
As we discussed yesterday, Bhagavad Gita is normally not only a philosophical textbook of an Upanishad. In Upanishads also there is a lot of philosophy, but not every Upanishad gives you practical guidance of how to follow that philosophy and practice it. They discuss the philosophy and mostly leave it there. They discuss a few stories of people who have followed the philosophy and leave it there. And mostly it's a discussion on the nuances, on the detailing, on the finer aspects of the philosophy. Most of the Upanishads are that way. So Upanishad Su is not enough. Then Brahma Vidyayam, it also teaches you the highest truth, but also teaches you how to achieve that truth, Yoga Shastra. Through certain practices, you can achieve that truth. And Shastra means a scripture. In Swami Vivekananda's word, a textbook, Bhagavad Gita is, and I call it as instruction manual. When you buy a new gadget, a phone, a mixie, a TV, a scooter or whatever, you get an instruction manual with it. And you read that and you understand how to use every part of it, how to use it correctly and not damage it by wrongly using it. And once you read that and then you use the gadget, then everything goes fine. It lasts forever. But in our eagerness to use the gadget, if we don't read the manual, if we don't read the instruction book and straight away jump into using it, there is a good possibility that we will misuse it or wrongly use it and damage it. And most of us do that. We start using it and when it goes bad, doesn't work, then we open the manual for the first time. Remove that plastic wrap and pull that book out and start searching for the page where the problem can be, and where the solution to the problem has been provided. Somehow it's like this with human mind. It always does first and thinks later. But the better thing to do is to think before you ink, as they say, look before you leap. So read the manual, read the book, and after that start using the gadget or instrument or whatever equipment you're using. That will help you use it correctly, that will help you not to damage it and use it for a long time. So Bhagavad Gita is like an instruction manual, a book which should be read before the life begins. In the sense, before you really get into the thick of life and take on responsibilities, that is the time when Bhagavad Gita should be read. So what is that ashrama where you do not have responsibilities but you have plenty of time and opportunities to learn about life? Brahmacharya ashrama. In Grihastha ashrama, the action has already begun. There is no time to go back and keep reading things. You should have read before and then only gotten into the next phase of life, whether it is Vanaprastha, Grihastha, Sannyasa or any professional life, Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra as it's been defined. For any of these things, you should know what is life in the first place, how to lead a good life, what is the purpose of life, how to find joy and happiness in life, what is the right way of doing things in this world, what are to be avoided. All these you should know before you get into the thick of action. So, as Narasimha Murji said, most of the people advise Bhagavad Gita can be read after you're 60 or after you retire. But then what you are doing essentially is reading the manual after having fully damaged and destroyed the gadget. Now it doesn't work and now you want to repair it. So most of people who start Bhagavad Gita reading after 60, they'll end up only repairing but not really truly utilizing the opportunity of this human life. As we have already learned, human life is very rare to come by. We cannot afford to damage it. Even if you buy one phone, you are very careful not to damage it. Even the slightest scratch, it's like a scratch on your own heart. Especially new cars, new phones. At least for some time it is that way. So you're so careful, but we are not careful about the very human life, because of which we are able to enjoy everything else. And so it's so much more important that we read the text or the manual or the instruction book of human life, which is Bhagavad Gita. Of all the scriptures, it is the crest jewel, best of the scriptures to read, because it not only tells you the philosophy and the details of it, but also gives you practical step-by-step approach to how to achieve this greatest purpose of life, which is to realize your divinity, yet act in the world for the sake of everyone. So this is only possible through a text like Bhagavad Gita. And who can write a manual about an equipment? The manufacturer only. User cannot write the manual, though it's called the user manual, but it is written by the manufacturer. Who has created this world? Who has created human life, the mind, the buddhi, chitta, ahankara, all the components of it? God. So who is the best person to write the instruction book or the manual, the user guide? God alone. And who is speaking here? Who is giving this wisdom? God alone. That's why Bhagavad Gita is the most authentic instruction manual that you can get about human life. So considering this as the background of Bhagavad Gita, one must put efforts to learn all the instructions correctly. Don't skip a few instructions out of laziness. Or if you don't understand how to use it, no, I will manage it somehow. Then you will get into trouble. Therefore, every single idea of Bhagavad Gita has to be understood, assimilated, digested, and then put into practice. Sometimes some ideas look conflicting. On one side, Krishna says, I am the doer of everything. Because of me only everything happens. I am the enjoyer of everything. And the next time says, no, I am not the doer, I am not the enjoyer, I am just a witness, Sakshi Bhuta, I am nothing, no involved. Then all the children, they're seeing stars, planets, galaxies, like in Vishwarupa Darshana you'll see. What is this? One side Krishna says, I am the reason for everything, I am the doer, because of me everything happens. On the other side he says, I have nothing to do with whatever you are going through. It's your own doing and making. Don't get me into this. So some people have asked me this question also, how does it work? I said, for the practical example I can give you is like this. There is electricity running in all these bulbs, right? This mic is right now working because of electricity. In the sense, whatever the cell is there, that has electric charge, and because of that it's communicating. Or the TV is functioning, fan is functioning. All this functioning is different. If you see from one point of view, all this is happening because of electricity only. But is electricity the air that is coming out of the fan? Is electricity the light that is coming out of the bulb? Is electricity the sound that is coming out of the amplifier? Is electricity the pictures that is coming out of the TV? No. Because electricity does not have any of these attributes in it. It is only a facilitator, an enabler. Reason for all these things, in a way you can say, is electricity only. That is what Krishna says. I am only from the beginning, I am only there, and because of my presence only everything happens. Like because of electricity, all the gadgets are working. At the same time, is this electricity which is making the light shine? Or in the sense, is light electricity, is wind electricity, is the sound electricity, is the picture electricity? No. All this is happening because of electricity, yet electricity is not all of these. So that is the reason Krishna says, all this is happening because of me, but I am not the doer. In the sense, I am not killing people directly, because I am not, as electricity, I am not the one which is giving you the breeze. It is the blades in the fan, the motor, and all the mechanism that is there. I am not the one which is giving you light, because there is a bulb, there is a filament, there are electric wires. I am only the electricity which passes through it and make the bulb function. Likewise, I enlighten your mind, your buddhi, your chitta, your ahankara, using which you act in the world. But I am the energy, the very power which helps you act in the world. If I go and I withdraw from you, nothing remains there. That's what the Kathopanishad says. Kimatra parishishyate. What is left once the divinity leaves you? So everything is running because of divinity, yet divinity is not doing any of these things because it is not directly involved in any of these things. Indirectly, it is divinity only. Without divinity, none of these things will happen. Therefore, in a way, divinity is the doer of everything, is being said. But can you attribute all these things to electricity? Electricity, you only gave the light. Fan, in a way, yes, but in a way, no. Wind came or breeze came because of the blades in the fan and the motor. Without which, even if electricity was there and there was no fan, let us say, would I be able to experience this breeze? I wouldn't be able to experience. If electricity was there but the bulb was missing or the filament was gone, can light be there in this place? No. If electricity was there but the TV was spoiled and it was not working, can I see the pictures? No. If electricity was there but the mic was faulty and somehow it was not working, can I hear the sound? No. So electricity is the reason why we hear everything, yet electricity is not the doer of any of these things, is how we have to understand. You think about it, whatever we say, these scriptures say, it needs a little bit of contemplation. So like the electricity is the reason why everything works, yet electricity is not doing any of these things directly. Likewise, Atman or Bhagavan is there in everyone as the very consciousness, very power that gives us the ability to think, speak and act. Yet, it is not thinking, speaking and acting, because our mind with its own vasanas, ideas, our prejudices, our preferences, our backgrounds, our experiences they drive us to think a particular way, speak in a particular way, or do a thing in a particular way. Bhagavad Gita says, whatever you think of for too long, you start developing desire for it. From desire starts the action. So mind is capable of thinking of good or bad because of the presence of Bhagavan or God within. But whether it thinks right or wrong, it is the mind's prerogative. It is not Bhagavan's prerogative. Some people will say, I went and did so many sinful things. Everything is because God, everything happens because of God within me. Why did God allow me to do the sinful things? Bhagavan says, no, I did not make you do. I gave you the power to do anything that you wanted. You ended up doing sinful things because you had too much of rajas in you. Raga, dvesha, these are coming from rajas. He says, no? So these krodha, kama, all these are rajasic quality. Raga, dvesha is rajasic qualities. These get activated in you like the fan gets activated, TV gets activated, all this mic gets activated or lights get activated because of the presence of electricity. But how much fan, how much breeze I will get? Fan has its own mechanism. If I put it in number 1 or 2 or 3, the speed of the fan, accordingly the breeze will come to me. How much light do I get? It depends on the wattage of the bulb. If I put a 0-watt bulb, it will give very little light. If I put a colored bulb, it will give colored light. Like our mind, which is consisting of our intelligence, our memories, our ability to store all our thoughts and emotions and make decisions, all this is using the power of God only to do many things in the world. But each of the mind uses it differently. A good sattvic mind uses all the power of God to do sattvic things in the world. A rajasic mind uses all God's power to do rajasic things in the world. A tamasic mind uses God's power to only fulfill the tamasic ways or desires. That way God is the doer, in the sense without God none of these things will work, rajasic, tamasic and sattvic in us. Yet He is not the doer because He doesn't want us to behave in a sattvic or rajasic or tamasic way. This is our choice. Because of our habits of the past, because of our vasanas, because of purva janma prarabdhas, we behave in a certain way. So to that extent God is the doer, to that extent God is not the doer. This is the understanding. But most of the people use the easy way out. They say, when things go wrong, God, you did all these things. You were sleeping, you could not stop me from doing wrong things. And on this side, when things happen very well, they say, yes, God is there, but He's not the real doer. I did all these things. It shouldn't be like that. Either you take both as God is the doer, or take I am the doer and live in one straight away. Don't, keep switching between ideas and philosophies for your convenience. If God is everything, and God is the doer. Surrender to God. How is it possible for you to do anything wrong? Because if you have totally surrendered your mind to God, which is what Krishna is saying, using your Atma, he says, Uddhared Atman Atmanam, using your own self, help yourself, he says. Using the power, invoke that power of Atman within you. That way you are surrendered to Atman, surrendered to Bhagavan, and that way you will be able to take you don't take any decisions, you don't think, you don't act. You are almost like a puppet in the hands of God and everything happens through you. You don't even feel the doership and the enjoyership. That is the idea of Jnana Karma Sannyasa Yoga, that you realize that you are divine and whatever is going through you is only a divine power that is making it happen. You don't interfere with it with your own ideas and intelligence and your buddhi and all the chitta. You just let it flow incessantly like the empty flute. That is Jnana Karma Sannyasa Yoga. But the issue is that how many of us can realize and be the realized beings who feel like this? We cannot feel like that. We are still having our motor and blades and the mechanism of our mind and buddhi, which decides how much breeze should come out of this fan, more or less. It is not dependent on the electricity. It depends on the motor and the capacity and things like that. So we keep changing the output of God in us because of our own mind and thinking. And this comes because of our habits, associations, ideas, desires, which we have developed from many, many births, not only now, but also in the recent times, whatever we have done. So that is the idea. This is what I want to clarify. So Jnana Karma Sannyasa Yoga is possible only when you have fully realized that you are divine and therefore there is no doing and enjoying. But because many of them cannot experience this, so Krishna says, do Karma Yoga or Karma Sannyasa Yoga. Karma Yoga is do the action to the best of your ability, don't worry about the results. Karma Sannyasa Yoga is that do the action and think you are not the doer and believe you are not the enjoyer. You are doing everything for the God's sake. He is the enjoyer and the doer. But at the same time, you don't claim that I am only that God which is enjoying and doing. Jnana Karma Sannyasa Yoga tells you should be able to experience that you are only that God which is enjoying and doing. But Karma Sannyasa Yoga says even if you don't experience, believe in this truth that you are not the doer and enjoys, God only is the doer and enjoyer, even if you don't experience. Using that as the idea, try to get rid of the attachments to actions. This is all they are trying to explain. So somebody got confused. Truthfully, these 3 chapters have been put like that, but I can combine it all into one Karma Yoga chapter and explain it. It's been divided, classified like this because there is a concept behind everything. But the essence of the whole, all the 3 chapters, not to confuse with one with the other, is that ultimately, if you can realize that you are God, all actions happen through you without your interference of mind. If you cannot realize that you are God, then mind interferes with every action. And if it's a sattvic mind, all actions will be sattvic. If it's tamasic mind, all actions will be tamasic. If rajasic mind, all actions will be rajasic. And whenever the mind is tamasic, rajasic or sattvic at different points in time, actions will be accordingly tainted with the quality of your mind. So this is the problem. Now, what is the best way out? You know, I want God's will to happen through me. I don't want my ideas, my ego, my personal ambitions or preferences to influence God. This is what we have to learn from Karma Yoga. Finally, we should reach a state where we should become Nitya Sannyasi. Continuously we are behaving without any attachment to anything. That is possible when I have totally letting the divinity within me to express without interfering with anything. If that has to happen, then mind has to be purified. So Karma Yoga helps us to purify our mind because it does not allow us to be selfish. Selfless mind is a pure mind. But if the mind is not steady, then even a pure mind cannot allow God to express completely. If it's shaky mind, it is a disturbed mind, it is never steady, it's always excited or depressed, it's good mind. There are many good people in the world. They're doing selfless work. But somehow they're not steady, they're not at peace all the time. Their minds are pure, but they are not steady. Like the water of the lake, which is pure, but it is not steady because the wind's coming, there are waves in the lake, so you cannot see the bottom of the lake. It's not dirty water, it is clean water only, but still it is not the steady water. So till Karma Yoga, we come to the state of keeping the mind clean or pure by actions which are selfless. Karma Yoga only brings us that far. Purifying the action, karmani chitya shuddhartam, purifying your inner mind is the essence of Karma Yoga. How? By doing selfless actions. If you can realize you are God, no need to worry, everything will happen as God has planned. And your plans don't interfere in God's plan. But if you have not reached that state, at least offer it to God, consider yourself as an instrument, and do not allow your ego and selfishness to interfere with anything in your life. That is Karma Yoga. It purifies your mind. It does not steady the mind. Steadying the mind happens through Dhyana Yoga, Upasana. And this is the second stage of the Bhagavad Gita. It's also going to tell you how to keep your mind steady. See, many of our children are their teachers, they're very good people, very selfless, but very difficult for them to even sit in one place for 10 minutes. They're not selfish people, but they are not steady people. That's why it's ability, nobility and stability. We have ability, Karma Yoga. Nobility, Karma Sannyasa Yoga. Stability, Dhyana Yoga. You should be able to stay steady in whatever you're doing, not keep fluctuating all the time. So how to develop this stable mind? Amrita Bindu Upanishad says, Mana eva manushyanam karanam bandha mokshayoho. Mind is the reason for one's bondage or liberation. A mind that is pure will help you liberate yourself. A mind that is impure binds you. A mind that is steady helps you get out of this cycle of birth and death. The mind that is unsteady gets you entangled. So that is the most important part of our controlling or educating or evolving, helping the mind evolve into a stable mind also. Not just a pure mind, but a stable mind too. Dhyana Yoga is slowly an approach towards that. And Krishna says Dhyana Yoga is basically a very concentrated, very focused mind. That's all it is. Which can stay on one thought, one idea for a very, very long time, then we call it as Dhyana. Before Dhyana comes Dharana. You choose what you want to stay on. You choose what is the idea that you want to focus on. And then if you focus on it for too long, it changes into Dhyana, which is the spontaneous, effortless ability to stay put in one thought, one idea, one object, without fluctuating from it. You're reading a book. You're fully involved in reading the book. In between, you're not thinking whether my cooker is, whistle of the cooker is happening or not, whether my gate is closed, whether Dhobi is going to return my clothes today or tomorrow. You're not focused. You're completely into that. So much so that you don't even realize Desha Kala Parasthiti around you. So you're totally lost in that. A singer is lost in singing. Like that. So that is focus. And how do you develop? He will be able to spontaneously focus on that. So it's your interest in life that helps you develop dhyana. It is not your abilities that make you help develop dhyana. Primarily it's your interest. If you're very interested in something, your body, mind, soul, everything will be in that place. So I told them, wherever his heart is, that is where his mind will be. Wherever his mind is, that is where his body will go. If he's interested in playing, his heart is in sports or games, he will run. Body will follow, mind will follow to the heart to the sports ground. It seems once there was this Bhima eating food in kitchen. And then he said, who is there? Bhima said, I am there. Nobody can see each other, it's so dark. Yet Bhima knew where the food is, where the vessel is, how to take it out, and how to put it in his mouth, not in nose or ears, and enjoy the food. Arjuna asked him, I'm struggling there to shoot in the dark, I can't get one target right. Even though I can see the target, I'm not able to focus. How is it that in this dark, I can't even see which is the idli, which is the chutney, which is the sambar? And you are perfectly able to mix and match and eat. He said, concentration. I'm so interested in eating, I'm hungry. So come what may, I found my way to the kitchen. I figured it out where the food was. I somehow found out how to take it out, and I'm eating it. Because his interest was led to the concentration. His interest in eating and his hunger drove him to have such huge concentration. You ask for yourself, who doesn't have focus? Everybody has focus. It's just that you focus where your interests are. If you're not interested, you're not focused on that. So, if you want to grow spiritually and want to realize the self, you have to focus on the self, the Atman. For that, you should have developed interest in spirituality. Unless you have interest, that is why Shraddha, that is the word. If you have Shraddha in spirituality, you will be able to focus on what I am saying, what Bhagavad Gita is saying, and everything else happens. If you don't have that interest, only for concentration does not happen. That is the primary reason why we can concentrate or we cannot concentrate on things. So wherever our heart is, that's where our mind will be. That is concentration, that is dhyana. And that is where body will also go. Because naturally you want to fulfill that, so body has to follow. So develop this transformation of heart is what I say. In developing a taste for God and spirituality is the uppermost job of all the teachers in our institutions. Daiva Priti. The very beginning of this year I gave a discourse on Daiva Priti, Papa Bhiti and Sanganiti. And I told this is the focus of our institution, how to develop love for God, interest in spirituality in every child, in every teacher, in every staff. That should be our focus. If we achieve that, everything else will be achieved after that. Because once you develop interest in God and spirituality, you will do everything and anything in your capacity to ensure that it's God and God alone who acts through you. Your mind, your buddhi, your chitta, your ahankara does not interfere with God's will. Intuition takes over, intelligence takes a back seat. Whatever you do in your life will go right. So why should I teach you anything else? How to make decisions, how not to decide, how to make this. No need, because your intuition is taken over. God has taken over your body and mind and spirit. And therefore everything will happen as per the divine will and there is no interference from your side. So if you get this right, you got everything right. This is why so much focus on. So Dhyana Yoga, here a lot of nice shlokas are there. Shri Krishna says, best way to start off is Karma Yoga. Do action selflessly, it will purify your mind. Once a pure mind is there, not an agitated mind, it is easy to steady the mind. But for steadying the mind, there are some practices that is required. That steadying mind requires certain practice, which is what he says, that you have to sit in a place, you have to develop this ability to sit in a place for a long time, should be able to breathe correctly, then should be able to focus. Then he said focus on the tip of your nose, not necessarily physical focus, the mental focus. Your focus should remain in that place while everything else is happening. And just now Narasimha Ji said about Drigadrishya Vidyaranya Swami. He was the first person who went about South India and created a new empire altogether, Vijayanagara Empire. And that was his contribution, because he was not just trying to teach spirituality, which is Jnana Yoga, Dhyana Yoga and all that, he also taught how to run the country, how to preserve our country's culture and values, which is the Karma Yoga side of it. So we prepare two Karma Yogis like this. Akka Bukka. Yavaru? Vijayanagara Empire. Akka Bukka. And they were two brothers, and he taught them. They were not kings or princes, but they were soldiers, and he taught them how to develop. And he gave a very beautiful idea of concentration. I think we can all practice it for a minute. It's called Drigadrishya Viveka. The first Drigadrishya Viveka, his Vidyaranya Swami's, it starts with Rupam Drishyam Lochanam Drig. The sights of all the objects is what you are seeing, and so seer is your physical eye. Right now you are seeing me, your physical eyes. But close your eyes also, and still you can see things. Can you? You can see it in your mind. You can see the food that you ate today. You can see the people you met today. You can see even the hall, even now, even if you close your eyes, right? So it says, when eyes become, mind becomes the seer, eyes become the object, mind becomes the seer. First level, there is an object. For the object which is external, seer is the eye. When eyes are closed, then eyes are being observed by the mind. In the sense, mind is able to see even though eyes are closed. But this mind is able to see or imagine or understand is known by whom? There is something within you, you will say, I am the one who knows it. Right? You are the one who knows that your mind is able to see things even when your eyes are closed. Possible, right? Everybody can close your eyes and see for a minute. Whatever you can see inside your mind. So you don't need eyes to see that. You have mind which also can visualize. Now who is watching this mind? The next question you should ask is, who is watching the mind? And your answer would be, I am watching this mind. Then who is this I? It is not the mind first and foremost, right? Because somebody can watch you means it is not you. It is somebody. So this one which watches the mind, you call it as I am watching the mind. But which part of I? Is the physical part? No, because your eyes are closed, so you can't watch with the closed eyes. But then you say, no, it is the mental part which is watching, but mental part is being watched. How can it also be the watching one? So the one who sees cannot be the seer. So cannot be the object. So if mind is the one which is imagining things, there is something inside you which is watching this mind. That something is called the Atman. And nobody is watching it. It is the final and the last thing that watches everything. So Rupam Drishyam Lochanam Drug. That is the idea. First you have Rupa outside, all the forms, eyes are watching that. Then when eyes become the object, the mind becomes the seer. Tad Drishyam Druktu Manasam, it says. When eyes become, or whatever the visuals in your mind becomes the things to be seen, mind becomes the seer of those things. Then it says, Manasa Drivrittasya Sakshihi. So when this mind becomes the thing, whatever the Drivritta means, all these vagaries that are happening, all the visualizations that are happening, somebody is watching. This is called Drivritti, which are happening in the mind. Sakshi is there for that. When that Sakshi is there, Drug Eva Natu Drishyate. That becomes the object, Sakshi. Mind becomes the object, Atma becomes the seer. When Atma becomes the object, there is no seer. It is the one which knows everything, nobody knows it. So you get my point, there are steps. Physical eyes, mental eye, and a spiritual eye within us. The spiritual eye or the spiritual consciousness sees what the mind is thinking, behaving, doing everything. And this mind understands what the eyes are seeing or behaving and doing everything. So this last part that I said, all dhyana, all the efforts of meditation is to stay in that state of eye which watches the mind. And mind that watches the physical objects. So go one layer deeper, and a yogi, what he does is that he always stays in this state of the Atman, which is watching the mind. Mind means buddhi, ahankara, chitta, everything. It is watching. I can see I am behaving badly. I can feel, if sad, I am feeling sadness or happiness now. That I which feels all these things, that is the self, and all the feelings, thoughts and emotions are in the mind, and all that is expressed in the body. You get angry, you beat up somebody, you bang the desk. All these are expressions of the things happening in the mind. But the one who watches the mind is the Atman. This is the concept called Drigadrishya Viveka. You can sit and practice. Any moment you can practice. Whenever you get very upset or excited, stability of mind is what I'm talking about. Immediately withdraw one step into who is watching the mind. The one who is watching the mind, is he angry? The one who is watching the mind, is he sad? Or is it only the mind which is sad and happy? The moment you discriminate and distance yourself from your mind, immediately peace comes. You try that. It works. But you have to keep practicing it. First it will be difficult, like learning how to balance yourself on a bicycle. It takes time. Once you get the balance, every time there is an agitation in your mind level and mind becomes unstable, quickly you withdraw it into the one who is watching this mind. The moment you withdraw into this self or Atman, which is watching the mind, immediately peace comes. Agitations drop. And slowly you will realize the mind also settles down, because mind is like a child. If nobody is watching, it will do notorious things. If somebody watches, it will behave itself. Right now, why all these children are behaving so well? Because I can watch all of them from here. You see yourself. You walk in a nice corridor of a lobby or a hostel or a hotel. If there are no CCTV cameras, you are throwing your hands and legs and walking without a care. The moment is written, you are under the observation of a CCTV camera. See, especially ladies, they'll immediately say, because they're being watched. Oh, I'm getting recorded now. How I'm wearing, how I'm walking, all this is getting documented. So immediately they'll set themselves right. Even I do that. The moment I come, the moment I see myself on the screen, I become alert. The cameras are there and I adjust myself. So if you are being watched, you behave better. If you're not being watched, then you do as you please. Imagine that your Atman, which is the true I in you, is watching your mind, what it thinks, what it doesn't think, how it feels, how it does not feel. It's always watching. Then immediately you'll be able to distance yourself and become careful. So the Dhyana Yoga should be helping us to withdraw layer by layer, step by step, and always steady ourselves in this witness. Sakshi is the word. In that witness. This witness is Krishna. This witness is that electricity I was talking about. This witness is Brahman. This witness is the Nirguna Nirakara, Ishvara. This is that witness that we have to join with and detach ourselves with the other things that are happening in the external. Bhutakasha, Chittakasha, Chidakasha it is called. The space outside where activity is happening is called Bhutakasha, physical activities. The space of the mind where all the thoughts are happening is called Chittakasha. And this space where the self stays, which watches everything, does not engage with anything, but watches everything, is called Chidakasha. Chidananda Rupaha. Chidakasha, it comes from there. You have to practice this. This is right Dhyana Yoga. Don't worry about searching for kusha grass and deer skin and cloth and all that is not necessary. That can be done later. But what you can do as Dhyana Yoga is try to focus. Who is watching whom? Just practice this one Drigadrishya Viveka. It has helped me immensely. The moment minds get agitated and you know you are getting dragged by emotions, quickly withdraw into that thing and watch how your mind is behaving. Analyze why mind is behaving. Like a child which is being watched and observed, the mind will start behaving itself. So this ability to detach yourself from the mind and observe your mind from a distance is dhyana. It is the essence of Dhyana Yoga. See, I'm not going shloka by shloka. All this you have already studied. I'm only trying to explain to you some important spiritual concepts which every chapter of Bhagavad Gita brings forth. And the chapter Dhyana Yoga brings this idea of observing ourselves, becoming a sakshi to everything else that is happening around us or within us. We are the sakshi, we are the witness to the physical activities around us, mental activities in us, all this to be observed by that consciousness which is within us. And that consciousness is Brahman, that is Nirguna Ishvara, that is whatever you call it, the ultimate reality, supreme truth. So the one who stays in that state will never go wrong, because even if the mind is trying to go wrong, observes the mind, mind starts behaving well. Observe the body, body starts behaving well. So this ability we have to develop as people, and that will help us to really master Dhyana Yoga. So my lectures are becoming longer and my question answers are becoming shorter. We'll take up a few questions today and then we'll see the rest tomorrow.
Swami, Lord Krishna says that success and failure is in our hands. But how do we react when others create obstacles in our work?
The whole life is a game, that's what I tell. In a game, you have to have an opposition team. Opposite team should be there. Otherwise, you will, you want to go and play football. You kick the ball, there is no goalkeeper, there is no opposite team, and you keep scoring goals. Would you be called a winner? No. So in life, the design of life is such that you will have people creating obstacles in your life, situations will be unfavorable, things will be difficult. Through all of that, you have to find your way to achieve your success, what you have set out to achieve. So first accept that world is going to be like this. Don't expect that there won't be obstacles, there won't be problems, everything will be a smooth ride. First of all, get rid of this expectation from the world. That is the first thing you should do. It's a game and things will come. There will be opposite things, that there will be obstacles and you have to find your way through all of this. So first, if you accept it, half of your questions, all these problems will get solved because you have accepted the world is like that. Now when people are wantingly doing that on purpose, they are creating trouble for you or being difficult for you. How do I deal with it and things like that. There is one prayer, I don't know which king had made this prayer, but it says, "Oh God, give me the ability to change what I can and give me the acceptance to change what I cannot. Acceptance for the change that I cannot make. And finally, give me the wisdom to know what I can change and what I cannot." First is the ability to change the things which I can. Second is the endurance, the patience to go through what I cannot change. And third is the wisdom to know what can be changed, what cannot be changed. And I use this all the time. So sometimes in life, obstacles come, people are difficult, there are many other issues. You sit down and think, is this possible to be changed? Can I do something about it? Analyze whether you have the abilities. If it's possible to change, then go ahead and do whatever you can to remove the obstacles from your way or change the person, change the situation. If you cannot, just learn to have the patience to accept it. Sometimes you cannot score the goal despite your best efforts because the opposition is stronger. So it is okay. Sometimes your kicks will be missed or whatever. You will lose the chance to score the goal. It is okay. That is also part of life. Accepting that also is important. And finally, pray to God that He gives you the wisdom of how to deal with that situation. And if you are coming from the intuition, everything will be fine. You will know how to find your way. So intuition is the best way, but all of us cannot connect all the time to divinity. Our intelligence or mind takes over, then at least use this way. Discriminate what I can change, what I cannot. And if you can change, go ahead and put efforts to make the change and remove the obstacles. And if you think you cannot, like a river, find your way around it and still continue to go to the ocean. Don't stop the journey. Many people give up saying it's too difficult, I do not want to do it anymore. That's the wrong approach. That's the wrong attitude. River never complains. A river flows. If a mountain comes, it cannot move the mountains, but it can always find its way around the mountain. Maybe a route becomes a little longer, but it has no problem. It is happy that it's moving towards the goal. So sometimes setbacks, difficulties, all are these the ways to train ourselves to accept and still keep going on.
Swami, can fate be changed by prayers?
Yes, it can be. Prayers are very powerful. But what is a prayer in the first place, you should understand. Prayer is only an application and not an insistence to be accepted or fulfilled. A desire is also a prayer. You pray to God, God give me money, God give me buddhi, God give me abilities. And you insist that God should give you this, then it is a desire, it is not a prayer. But prayer is simply offering your whatever you want from God. You simply place it at God's feet and leave it at that. You don't insist that it has to be fulfilled tomorrow, day after, timelines, you give it to God. Make sure within a year this happens to me. Then it is a desire, it is not a prayer. And desires are not always fulfilled. God chooses to fulfill desires which are selfless and good for all. Not all selfish desires are fulfilled by God. So when you desire that things should change, your fate should change because you should become richer or better or whatever, it may or may not happen. But when you pray selflessly for anybody, even for yourself, and you place it at God's feet without the expectation of outcome, that God will change it. No, there is no guarantee. There is no necessity to even think that way. Just offer it that prayer and leave it at that. God knows in His ultimate wisdom what is right for whatever you have prayed, and will do the right thing. So prayers and desires have to be discriminated in the first place. All desires are not prayers, all prayers are not desires. So therefore make sure that you understand the difference between the two. And prayer is simply a selfless approach to God, saying that this is something that is bothering or worrying or it's a difficult thing, but I leave it at your feet as a prayer, and whatever is right you may please do. That's all it needs to be done. In fact, a Sharanagata does not even pray. A person who's completely surrendered won't even go and pray. Will only sing the praises, but never prays. Because he has nothing to pray. Whatever is happening is God's will. Good, bad, ugly. It's my prarabdha, my karma, because of which I am going through whatever I am going through. God is not responsible for it. I'll accept it as that God has known. God knows what I am going through. I don't have to go and again and again remind Him that things are not as I want them to be. Please, as God, you should do something. Such ideas only don't exist for the real devotee who is in the Atma Nivedanam stage. This idea doesn't exist to pray at all. You pray to praise God, that's all. You call it prayer, but I will call it praising the God, singing the glory. That's all happens for a true devotee. For all others, prayers happen, and for the worst of the people, desires only happen. Prayers don't happen. They are dubbed as prayers, but they are their desires. So that is what will come eventually. Arti, Jignasu, Artharti, all these people are the quality of devotees. But yes, if you pray, and if God thinks the prayer is good and needs to be done, and in His own time, in His own wisdom, God will do the thing. Fate can be changed. Lot of things have changed like this. But but the moment you insist that my fate should be changed, then that does not remain a prayer, that becomes a desire. And desires may or may not be fulfilled. But if you just leave it at God's feet, and whatever God decides is best, if nothing He does nothing about it also is fine. With that, if you do, then there may be some hope to change your fate.
Swami, what happens to those on medication for psychological issues? Will that affect their spiritual progress?
As I said, all spiritual progress, the root to spiritual progress grows through the mind only. Your mind is the reason why you progress fast or do not progress fast. If mind becomes pure and clean and stable, your spiritual progress is really fast. If mind is shaky, unstable, impure, that comes in the way of the mind. Now, what is the problem with the psychological issues? Their mind may be pure, but may not be stable. And therefore, there still is an obstacle in the path of spiritual progress. Now, you can take some medication to control the mind for that moment and make it stable and may continue with your spiritual progress. But if mind has been subdued or oppressed or controlled by certain medications, then once the effect of the medication wanes away, immediately the mind will get activated and again it will become unstable and unsteady. So again your spiritual, whatever progress will get affected and hindered. So yes, it may give you temporary relief at that moment, but it will not help you really grow spiritually fast. The other option for these people is that if they overcome their mind, whatever be the status of the mind, if they have overcome, then probably, there is what you call amanasthiti, this is called in our Upanishad. No mind. There is a state of mind called no mind. That state if you achieve, then probably, whether you have psychological disorders or not, won't really affect you, because deep down somewhere your whole consciousness, your focus is much inside, not at the mind level also. So then you can steady yourself and stay peaceful. However, for the spiritual progress, a good mind is very important. And if you don't have a good mind, pure mind and a stable mind, it's not possible to progress spiritually. So actually all our efforts in the world is only to purify and stabilize our mind. Once that happens, spirituality automatically happens to us. So all efforts are towards that. That's why karma and upasana are recommended as two ways of doing it. Medications can help. You have a problem, you have to take medications, you should take it. At the same time, that cannot guarantee spiritual progress. It may come in its way.
Swami, while being part of the divine mission, how to include family who are not yet aligned?
If they see how happy you are, how joyful you are doing what you are doing, someday they'll get tempted to be like you, to become like you. And hopefully that will draw them into this path of spirituality. If you are going to an ashram, following all the spiritual rules, and always have a long, sad face, and feel like you feel everything is a burden, or you have a very, many of the spiritual people think the only way they look spiritual is if they don't smile, and they put up a very serious face or front, and nobody they talk to, nobody touches them. If people are coming from there, they'll go from that far. All these funny things they do in the name of spirituality and progress. It's not at all spirituality. So if you behave like this, then nobody would like to join you in this path. But if you are spontaneous, if you are loving, if you are kind and compassionate and always happy, always joyful, Atmarida, Atmakrida, Atmaratihi Kriyavan. He always busy doing good things, but always enjoying the self, that joy of spirituality within. Then all the people around you will think, how can I also be like him or her? She's always happy, he's always happy, and I also want to be happy. A lot of people write to me, they see their friends coming here, and seeing them, they have come here. Because they saw these people doing so well, and they're so happy. And the idea of what Narasimhaji said, spirituality has been so badly misunderstood in the world. That spirituality means this person will not talk to anybody, Maunavratam. He will or she will not even come to home or not even discuss anything about any other matters. Will always wear a sad looking dress and always put a very sad looking face. If you behave like this, I really do not agree. I do not like people shaving off their hair or wearing ochre and roaming around or growing beard, and it's not necessary. All this is not necessary. They're all external things which people feel good about. They feel they're more spiritual, or at least they appear to be more spiritual because of the length of their beard. That's not true. So my idea of spirituality is that be as you are, yet deep inside, as you said, where your focus is. The focus is deep in that Atman, and therefore everything else is outside is okay. Janaka is the best example I keep quoting again and again. King by the day, saint by the night. That is the kind of thing, all the time focused on who he is, real self. So if you live like that, I guarantee you, anybody who comes in touch with you or comes to know about you will get inspired. And will also start thinking, can I also become like him or her? And then they will come and ask you, how is it that you are always peaceful, happy, joyful, you are loved by everybody, you love everyone, you seem to have everything in life, even though material you may not be as rich as me. What is the secret? Then you can tell spirituality is the secret. Can I also learn it very much? You can also come join us and develop this kind of thinking. So your life is going to be the reason why anybody would join you or not join you or join this path. So that is the way you should do it. One last question.
Swami, if children commit mistakes or perform good deeds, do they face any consequences as they have not yet developed the power of discrimination?
See, the consequences come from the idea that you are the doer, not from the idea that you can discriminate or you cannot discriminate. A thief or a smuggler or a criminal completely believes in whatever that person is doing. He's convinced about it. It's right, it's the right thing to do. You can't help him discriminate, so he's not using discrimination. But he has the idea of doership. If the child has the idea of doership, I am so and so, I am the one doing this, unknowingly he might have made a mistake in doing it, but as long as that ahankara, that I feeling is there, I means not the spiritual I that I am talking about, the self, but I identifying yourself with the body and the mind, son of so and so, daughter of so and so, wife or husband or whatever, then that I itself becomes the reason for the consequences. Even whether you have done it knowingly, unknowingly, you will get into trouble. Example, a child example, very difficult to find, whether somebody in the child, as a child has done something wrong and not knowingly, but yet face the consequences. But doing it unknowingly is like Dasharatha Maharaj is there. He shot an arrow thinking that it is a deer. At the end it went and hit the Shravana Kumara. And because of that a curse came upon Dasharatha Maharaja, because of which he got separated from his own children. So unknowingly he did that. Even discrimination also is not the question here. Without the knowledge, without wanting to do it, it happened. It's a mistake. Yet the consequences came because Dasharatha was not a Jnani. Only Jnani is free from all the consequences. So it is like this. If If the baby is so young or so small that there is no sense of ego, then probably it will be absolved of all the consequences. But the moment the ego comes in the baby, ego means his identity with the body and the mind. Anything that the baby does, knowingly, unknowingly, with discrimination, without discrimination, all of them will become actions which will have consequences of varying degrees. Because the baby has not done it on purpose, probably the consequences will not be as worse as it would have been otherwise. I know of a baby, mother was cooking and this baby went and put some knife or a screwdriver in the ears of the poor mother. She lost a ear. The mother is mother, she is forgiven the baby because baby did not know what it is doing. Yet, will this have a consequence in the future? You never know, because ultimately it did harm to somebody. And whether this baby did to mother because of some Purva Janma karmas, that also we do not know. Maybe the mother had hurt the baby in some point in time. So even without knowing that it's hurting the mother, it went and took the revenge of the past. We do not know. But the moment ahankara is there, definitely there is karma, and karma prabha will naturally follow after that. Only a jnani is capable of not having any ahankara. That's the reason why whatever jnani does not have any consequences for him or her. So that is the idea. Shiyante chasya karmani tasmin drishte. So the one who realizes the self, all his karmas are become ineffective. He may even undergo karma, but he is not going to suffer or feel the consequences of it. We have three types of karma. We have past karmas, sanchita karmas, prarabdha, and agami karma. These are the three types of karmas are there. Please study about these three karmas also, because you finished karma yoga, and if you don't know what kind of karmas are there, then it will not be complete knowledge. So there are karmas we have done in our past lives which are still there, which are going to be fulfilled or which will come to fruition in this life or in another life. And there are some things which we are experiencing now, which is the act of what you call fulfillment of those past karmas. And there are karmas which we are undertaking now, which will have results in the future. Like in the 4th class you studied, I gave the example of addition, subtraction you studied in your 3rd or 4th class, because of which you are able to behave today the way you are able to do mathematics. What you do today is going to also have an effect on how you will study in the next classes. So you bring your karmas from the past, sanchita karma, prarabdha which you are experiencing now, and agami which you are going to do now and experience it later. But for a jnani, sanchita karmas get destroyed. Prarabdha, the jnani experiences, but he is like on anesthesia. He does not feel the effect of it. He has the equipoise to accept it and go through it without complaining. And agami karmas is free from that. Why? Because agami karmas, whatever he does, he is not the doer because he doesn't have ego. So no effect happens to that jnani. So that is why I said a karma yogi must be a jnani. That is the perfect karma yogi. And a jnani only is capable of doing karma yoga, because there is no action, no consequences for him. There is no doership, no enjoyership. So that is why none of these are separate from each other. Though it's been categorized as chapters to teach you concepts. But the final acme of perfection is all the yogas become one in that Brahmasthiti. So that is what we have to strive for. It is difficult, it takes time, because we have habits, we have past vasanas, we have karmas, we have our own mind and chitta which keep on interfering with our ability to allow God to flow through us without any obstruction. Slowly and steadily we can work toward this path. This very thing says mind is difficult to change, like the boy said, durnigraham chalam. It's very difficult to control it, durnigraha, because it's very chanchala, very unstable. But abhyasena tu kaunteya. Remember the Bhima story? Keep practicing how to eat in the dark. Abhyasa. That's how he could eat in the dark. Vairagya. If he wanted to eat in the night, he has to give up his sleep. If he wanted to sleep and also eat, not possible. So some things you have to give up for the sake of achieving something else in life. No pain, no gain. So some comfort, yukta ahara viharasya. Moderate your lifestyle. Eat appropriately, work appropriately, rest appropriately. Moderate, that is yoga. So that is very simple. In our schedule, it is already ingrained for you. You can't sleep longer than the scheduled time. You cannot eat more than what is rationed and served to you. You cannot go as and when, wherever you want and whatever time you want. This already is yoga. These are the practice of yoga, which is already moderating your lifestyle so that you don't do anything in excess, and thereby you can keep your mind more steady. And the environment like this, which is so selfless. Everybody is selfless. Nobody can afford to be selfish over here. In fact, till last year when we were charging some fee for the hostel for some people, there was a possibility that some people can behave selfishly. I am richer, I have got this. Or a teacher may discriminate, this boy is from a better family, this boy is from a lesser family. Everything has been wiped away from this place. So there's no way you can be selfish over here. So it already helps you so much with your yoga and spiritual purpose. If you can't utilize this opportunity by developing a little more interest in spirituality, uddhared atman atmanam atmanam avasadeyad, by self-effort, if you cannot develop interest in spirituality in this place, at this point of time, when everything seems to be right for you, you have a guru, you have all the time in the world to study, you have the environment and the situations perfectly aligned for you to progress. If you don't utilize this opportunity, that Upanishad says, Atmahano Janaha, it is like committing suicide. In Japanese, they say harakiri. You are committing suicide because after getting everything also, you do not want to utilize it for your spiritual progress. You are ruining yourself. It's equivalent to committing suicide, spiritual suicide. So remember this and always be mindful of this opportunity. I'll see you all tomorrow.